I have both the doors stripped down. I have started to work on pulling this dent out, or actually hammering the dent out. This is what it looks like now. It's definitely a huge improvement from how it was. And I'm just not really making any more progress now, unfortunately. It's getting to the point where the part that still needs to be pushed out right here is just so hard to access from inside of here, because you can see right there like how thin that piece is. I just can't get anything to fit in there. But I think what I'm gonna do now is just work on sanding all of this down, and then we will use Bondo on this to kind of reshape this body line right through there, so that it looks like this here. Because as you can see, the way this body line comes through all the way to the corner, this section right in here is what's missing on that. So I need to work on kind of like, I don't know, sort of like sculpting that body line back in there. So we'll see. Hopefully I can make it happen. Worst case is the Bondo doesn't work, and then I just resand it all the way back off and then keep trying to work on pushing it out. All right, so I got this first door all scuffed up with 220. You can see some metal, and that's because that's where that adhesive was for the plastic liner. And getting that stuff off was not easy. I had to use like 60 grit to just basically sand it off, because I tried a razor blade and it just was not getting it. So went through it with 60 grit, took care of it all, knocked it down pretty fast, and then went back over everything with 220, just scuffed it up. Didn't take a ton of time on this. Just trying to get through the clear coat enough to get primer to adhere. Like, I just don't want to put like hours of work onto the inside of the door where you're not even gonna see it. I just want it to be good enough to where primer will adhere, so that there is not bare metal exposed. This side, yeah, I've gotten it pretty much down to the base, feathered it into some of the primer as well. And now I'm just gonna clean it up and hit these spots right here that are gonna need some Bondo work. There's another small dent like right here. There's like a slight indentation, so I'm gonna try to fix that as well. So I'm just gonna get this cleaned up. I need to scuff it up with some coarser grit stuff just in those areas. Get it really clean, and we'll start mixing some Bondo. All right, so it's been probably like an hour since I put the Bondo on. It's pretty thick though, so it kind of feels like a little bit tacky. I may wait just a little longer before I start knocking it down. I do hope that I was able to get enough on here so that I can shape this body line. That is one thing that I'm a little bit concerned about. I know it obviously looks like a mess right now, but it's just kind of the nature of this stuff. So I'm gonna let it harden up a little bit more, and then I'm just gonna start knocking it down with some 80 grit again. I'm just trying to like shape that literally sharp line right here, like you can see on this one, so that it just like really keeps that body line. That's gonna be really important, I think, for the just the rear quarter panels that I order from ABW to like look really good and have that nice seamless flow from the door to the quarter panel. So while I'm waiting for this Bondo to cure a little bit more, I am probably just gonna jump over to sanding the other door. So I wanna get started on that, and I'll just kind of jump back and forth. I think what I'm going to do is finish sanding the doors and then prep them up for primer, and then actually lay primer down on them before doing the hood and the hood scoop. I get bored with the sanding and just having to do a bunch of sanding over and over and over. It gets tedious, and I'd rather kind of just like jump around between tasks. It just like makes the work a little bit more enjoyable. Yeah, I think I'll do the doors together, get those laid down in primer, and then I'll move on to sanding the hood and the hood scoop, get those all good, and get those put in primer, and then we'll get everything all wet sanded and ready for base coat. So, all right, so got the back side of this one all sanded down. Got all of that adhesive off. This one was a huge pain to get that stuff off. It took me way longer on this door. Haven't touched the outside of it. I'm gonna take a break from sanding right now and jump over to this. I think this stuff is, yeah, it definitely feels a bit harder now. So I think I'm gonna start working on shaping that. And hopefully we can get that thing looking way better. All right, so it is the next day. I worked on this door, shaping that Bondo that I put on for that dent. I did put some more Bondo over it, as you can see. I just felt like it needed like a little bit more to get it like shaped out the way that I want it. I'm gonna start knocking that down again. I put some more on this side as well. Yeah, I kind of sanded down to where I could still feel a slight divot, so I filled it back in with a little bit more. That's kind of curing still, but this one I can start working on now again. And yeah, we'll get this all shaped up. I did finish sanding up this door off camera. So that one's all scuffed up and looking good. There was no dents in that one to fix, so we are moving right along. So I'm just gonna continue doing this right now. Once this is all done, these doors are pretty much ready, so I'll get them all cleaned up and get them ready to lay down some coats of primer. All right, so I just finished up with the Bondo. Here is what it looks like. This part is all smooth. I can't feel that indentation at all. This part turned out really good as well. It's gonna be hard to see on the camera, I think, but I really was able to get that body line back. I do think it's gonna look really good when it's all finished up with some color. Pretty pleased with that. So yeah, now I'm just gonna clean these up and we're gonna prep them to lay down some primer. All right guys, so it is the next day. I thought I was done with the doors in terms of the like prep work for them to be ready for primer. And then after I cleaned them off, I looked at them in the sunlight and I'm not happy with the body line right here where I tried to kind of recreate that. If you look at this one, it may be kind of hard to see it on camera, but the line is very defined all the way through. This one, I realized that it's very defined right through here. and then I lose it right here, and then it kind of picks back up like in here. And then it's pretty defined all the way through. It's not perfect, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to get it perfect. There's probably some spots in here though that I could fix a little bit, but I'm just not happy with how I lose it so much right here. So after noticing that yesterday, after cleaning them, I decided to just step away for a bit. This work is super tedious. It takes a long time. Yeah, just there's a lot of little steps involved in order to lay the Bondo down correctly, and then you got to wait for it to dry, and then all the sanding and shaping, all that stuff. It just takes a while to like feel like you're making any progress. So I was a little frustrated, so I just stopped. I didn't want to make a decision, and so I decided to just wait. I just don't want to lay down primer and then regret it, because I do want these to look as good as they possibly can. So yeah, basically I am going to keep working on this thing. I'm going to lay down a little bit more Bondo. I'm going to try to get that body line fixed a little bit better than it is right now, and try to make it look a little bit more defined like this one. And then once that's done, hopefully we will be able to get these things in some primer today. All right, so finished with the Bondo work. It looks a lot better. Here is what it's looking like. Probably kind of hard to see, but yeah, I can assure you that it looks a lot better, and this line, this body line is a lot more defined. You can see it really well, just like the other door. So I just finished cleaning up the door. I got that one cleaned up already and hanging in place. This is my setup that I'm going to be using. I just have it hanging off of an eye bolt up there. It's a piece of rope with a bungee. Yeah, I just want to be able to hang it so that I can get all the way around the thing and get all the door jambs in the back in one shot. Otherwise I would have to like paint the back side, wait for it to dry, then flip it over, clean the front side, and then paint the front side, which I could do. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. So if I notice that it is like swinging as soon as I start spraying, I'll probably just stop and scrap this idea. But I just got to get the other door hung in place now, and then I'm gonna get the garage a little bit more cleaned up, set up my fans, and then mix up some primer and spray these bad boys. So paint booth is set up, got everything ready over there. I'm just hitting this one last time with some 90% isopropyl alcohol, just to make sure it's nice and clean. Hardener. All right, so it's the next morning. Let the doors cure overnight. They turned out pretty good. That's the door that I didn't have to do the repair on. And then here's the one that I repaired. When I first looked at this, I was not very happy with it. You can see some kind of waviness right in here, which I'm not super happy about. But now that it's had time to really cure, it does look better than I initially thought. Like honestly, when I was watching the primer dry, I was looking on Marketplace immediately for another door that didn't have a dent, and I was just convinced I was gonna have to redo the whole thing because I just did not like how it looked. It looked like there was obvious body work done to it, and yeah, I mean, amateur body work at that, because let's be honest, it is amateur body work because I've never done this before. I mean, I have used Bondo before. I used it on that bumper that I just resprayed. But aside from that, that was the first time, and that was not like a major sort of thing like this where like I had to like reshape something. But yeah, you know, I get why body and paint shops charge what they do, because this stuff is not easy. I think it takes years of practice and just years of trial and error and figuring out all the tips and tricks that like make it go smooth and give you the finish that you're looking for. You know, and that stuff isn't free. Experience takes time and money, so I get it. I do think that it's important for me to see the whole project through. I probably will end up sanding this down some more and trying to work on it a little bit more, which may mean applying some more filler to it and trying to shape it and getting it a little bit more smooth. But we'll see. Maybe when I start wet sanding, it'll hide a little bit of the waviness and the imperfections. But that remains to be seen. So yeah, but anyways, aside from that, they do look really nice. The back sides turned out well also. And now they're just ready for some wet sanding, aside from that issue that I'm still gonna be attempting to work on. Now that I have those in primer, I'm going to start working on the hood, and I'm just gonna hit those spots that need some filler, get those sanded down with 80 grit, apply the filler, let it dry, come back, resand the whole thing. And the hood scoop I'll be working on as well. So for the last couple days, I've been working on finishing up this hood and hood scoop. I finally got all the Bondo smoothed out and got those dents all fixed. It did turn out pretty nice. Can't see that dent at all, and everything is like nice and smooth. Got a lot of the scratches out, and yeah, it ended up working pretty dang good. I didn't even try to pull the dent that was in there. Just filled it, and it worked really well. I did have to apply it a couple times to get it just right, but I think overall it's gonna look really good once I throw the primer sealer on. The hood scoop as well, that's all scuffed up. I just hit it with 220 and went over it really thoroughly with the block by hand. This didn't need any Bondo. It's in really good shape, so wasn't too worried about that. So next I just need to do some more thorough cleaning on these parts. And then I'm going to actually hang the hood like I did with the doors. The hood, I am gonna try to rig something up off the ground as well to keep it from swinging, because I had that problem with the doors, as I'm sure you could see in those clips. And it just wasn't ideal. And I wanna figure something out, because with primer, it's not as big of an issue, but when I start laying the base, I do not want that thing moving around. So yeah, I'm just gonna try to figure out how to maybe put a weight off the floor with like a rope, attaching it to the bottom of the hood as well, so that it won't move. Right before I lay the primer down, I'm also going to hit it one more time with some 90% isopropyl alcohol, just to make sure there's no like grease or wax on the parts, and then hit them with the tack rag, and then we'll mix up some epoxy primer and we will seal these parts up. Also, while I was waiting for some Bondo to dry today, I did start working on wet sanding the door. I wasn't very happy with it at first, but as the sealer sort of shrunk down over several days, it started to look better and better. And so, although it's not perfect, and I do think, knowing what I know now, I could probably do it better, it does look pretty good. Here is the other door. It's gonna look different because it's still got the like primer texture on it, and this one doesn't. This one's nice and smooth. You can probably see that through the camera as well, compared to like that. So yeah, I just wanted to update you guys on where I was at with that door and how it looks after a few days since I laid down the primer. All right, so as you can see, I have everything laid out. Hopefully you can hear me okay over the fans. I did set up this hood with this weight attached with some wire, just to keep it from swinging too much. It still can like rotate a little bit, but I think it's a lot more solid. So hopefully it works really well. This will be like a test run for that, because at least it's just primer going on right now and not the base. I did the door handles. I almost forgot that I should probably do those, as well as this gas lid. That is a sedan gas lid from an STI. So what I'm gonna be doing with the primer though is, because the tip of my gun is a 1.4 and the primer calls for a 1.5 to 1.7. It's a little small for that primer, and so the guy at the paint shop did recommend that I should try to just put like a tiny bit of reducer in there, like no more than 10%. But anyway, we're gonna try that and see if it lays down the primer a little bit smoother and doesn't have so much texture. So without further ado, I'm gonna mix this stuff up and we're gonna get cracking.
All right, so I got 2 coats on everything. It all looks pretty good. Adding that thinner helped a lot. It laid down way smoother. So this is what they all look like. Still flashing off, so it'll continue to look smoother as it flashes off. But yeah, it's looking really good. You can kind of see where I did the Bondo work. I don't know how well it'll come up on camera, but I do think that we'll be able to get rid of some of that through wet sanding. I don't know if you can see that from that glare. There's a spot like right here that has Bondo. And maybe after a 3rd coat, it'll maybe hide more of that. Back looks really good. I taped off the little sticker, so I wanted to preserve it. Definitely pleased with how well the primer laid down this time using that thinner. I'm going to put one more coat on, like heavy coat, and then I'll let it cure for a little while, and then I'll show you the final results.
All right, so the parts have been drying and curing for about an hour now. They turned out really nice. Everything is so much smoother than it was before. On like my previous attempts using the same primer. Like I'll kind of show you the difference. So you can see how just like shiny it looks and smooth, like especially on the hood scoop you can see here in the light, like so smooth and shiny. Didn't get any runs, which is really nice. And this is like, so this is what I'm talking about. So the door, this is one that I haven't wet sanded yet. I don't know how well it'll pick up on the camera, but there's like a texture, like an orange peel looking sort of texture to it. And you can feel it. As opposed to like this door that I've already wet sanded. You can probably even hear the difference with my hand moving across it. So these parts, it kind of already looks like what these looked like after I've wet sanded. And of course, I am still going to wet sand all these parts. I mean, that'd be foolish not to, even though it went on a lot smoother and there's not the same kind of texture there. I'm still gonna have like high spots and low spots. There are some spots on the hood that I can still see, like where I applied the Bondo. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see it moving across here, but I do think I'm gonna be able to fix that with the wet sanding and you won't really notice once the base is on. I actually hit the hood right here with my ass too while I was like trying to paint this door handle over here. And thankfully it was only after the first coat, so you can't really see it that well, but it's right in here. I think that will be fixable with the wet sanding as well. There's a couple dents that I missed. Man, it's hard. I'm telling you. Bodywork is no joke, man. I have a lot of respect for those guys that can just like do it flawlessly and make things look brand new again, because I didn't even see these little tiny dents, and I was feeling around for them too, but it's just so hard to get every little detail, especially on a hood that's, you know, over 20 years old and it's just been beat up. Overall, pretty happy with everything. And every time I do this stuff, every time I spray like either primer or base or clear, I always learn something and I always make small improvements. So I'm very happy with how these turned out, and it'll be so awesome to get these all prepped and ready for paint. I cannot wait to see all these parts in the color. And of course, we will be able to throw the hood and hood scoop on the car immediately, which is only gonna make everything look that much nicer for now. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video here. In the next video, I will be getting all of these parts wet sanded, getting them all smoothed out, applying the base coat, applying the clear, and then hopefully I'll also be able to install the hood and hood scoop at that time so we can see all of those painted front end pieces together. In the next video as well, I will be showing you guys the drivetrain package that is being shipped from JDM Racing Motors. That will actually be here in just a couple more days, so I'm so excited for that. That's gonna be so freaking cool. Yeah, real excited for that. Thanks for watching. Please hit that like button. Think about subscribing if you haven't, especially if you want to see more progress on this build. I mean, it's pretty much endless. I'm just going to keep going with the car for a while. I have a lot of things that I want to do to it. Drivetrain stuff will be next. Obviously, the quarter panels, once I get those, I did order those from ABW, so those will be coming soon, hopefully within the next couple weeks. Yeah, and once we have the drivetrain, the bodywork done, I do have plans to do like a built motor. I'm not sure what path I'm gonna take yet, but we're a ways out from that anyways. So thanks again for joining, and keep your eye out for that next video that should be coming up here in the next several days. And until next time, peace out, everyone.